So let's get into it. Like I was saying, every 5 or 6 weeks, I like to just go hands on here and really just almost have like a podcast style thing. I'm coming in totally butt naked. I got no concepts, but I want to dive into each of your guys' kind of specific situations and experience with nutrition, and help you work through any bottlenecks that you may be going through. Because the reality of a program like this is that any bottlenecks that you guys may be experiencing nutritionally, or questions just overall that you have about nutrition, there's somebody else that's here or watching the recording that is experiencing too. So let's dive into it. First things first, Alex, I'm going to pick on you because I know I've been chatting with you recently about nutritional situations. I'll pick on you, man. So talk to me a bit about, I know we've kind of been going back and forth recently, but talk to me about your kind of situation with nutrition and things that you're looking to improve or like hurdles that you're trying to overcome personally when it comes to your nutritional needs.
Yeah, so I lost the weight, right? But I still got that little gut. Uh, so like the goal is really to take it next level.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm in this in between place where you're trying to like grow your muscles, but at the same time you want to flatten the stomach.
Mhm.
So like I've been conflicted in like because psychologically it's like okay, stick to low calories because I spent so much time losing weight
Mhm.
and I want to I don't like mentally I don't want to gain weight, but then I know it's like possible, right? Like to and you could still achieve your goals. So it's just kind of getting everything organized. So I hit the right protein and it's a struggle to like really get all that protein in a day. I feel like I have to supplement. Sometimes I'll buy like these shakes, which is fine every now and then, but it's a little bit tough. I'll say that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you're here today too, Alex, because we're going to be able to provide some like more higher level in depth stuff with your situation just because you've been doing it so long, right? Like you've been here for a year. Drew, if you didn't know that, Alex has been with us for a year now. So like we can kind of get into the weeds here on this conversation for you and talk about like how we can optimize things. So let's kind of break it down one by one where you're in that kind of conflicted state of I want to build this muscle, but I also want to get rid of this belly. Where you're at in your process, Alex, I think it's absolutely possible that you do both with time, right? I saw you message me back. I haven't got to it, but I think it is a time game for you. And I know I've talked to you about that before. There's definitely a fine balance though. Now that you're doing jujitsu as well, we need to make sure that you're getting adequate calories to literally just have your body functioning properly hormonally and metabolically. So because you're doing so much now with lifting and jujitsu and all this other stuff, this is awesome, right? Like that's what I do. But my biggest struggle for me personally is keeping weight on. Like I lose weight fast because I'm not too terribly hungry, and the food selection that I have is usually very whole
Yeah.
food. So it's hard for me to overeat calorically because I don't eat like processed stuff really. I'm at the point of micro optimization where like I don't have anything processed in my pantry or anything. And it's very hard to overeat calories when you're eating clean sources of food always, right? So that's something that helps. But when you're a guy like myself that struggles to keep weight on, it can be difficult. Alex, for you, now that you're doing jujitsu and stuff, you've gotten into a pattern of like it's seems pretty simple for you to drop weight now, right? Like you
Yeah.
drop weight kind of at ease. Because you've hit that healthy balance. So now adding jujitsu in, we're definitely going to want to manage your calories and make sure you're eating enough to what I think is going to be best for you and what you're trying to do here is just maintain the weight you're at and then continue to hit that protein goal. And over time, get to that point where the muscle has been built and the belly fat is starting to drop. It's definitely a time game now for you, though, Alex. Like you're over newbie gains, right? Like I think I've told you that before. Like you don't have newbie gains anymore. And it's the same thing for me. Like
Mhm.
if you look at me for the last 2 years, like there's a picture of me 2 years ago and a picture of me now, there's not much of a difference at all, right? Because like the newbie gains are over, they're long gone, right? And that's good and bad. It's good because you're over the hardest part. The hardest part is actually getting through that for people. But once you're through it, it's very easy to kind of stay where you are. But it gets frustrating because you have a little bit of belly fat that you want to get rid of, but now it's just going to take a
Yeah.
while, right? That's that last layer that everybody talks about in the health and fitness world. The last layer of fat, right? It's the last layer, and it takes a long fucking time. And it's a battle, and it feels uphill. So I think for you, it's going to be long game, and then managing your calories to stay at an equilibrium weight wise with you adding in jujitsu now. I want to dissect your statement as well too. I don't want to overlook anything. I think the other thing you brought up is it sounds like the struggle with the protein, right?
Yeah, because like I eat it's hard to eat a lot. Like I don't overeat anymore.
Mhm.
And like most of these foods, unless you're eating like straight up chicken or straight up beef, it's like not gonna get you to your protein goal.
Yep.
And it's a crap load of chicken. So it's like I have to do,
Mhm.
man, like at least two servings of protein shakes a day to really get to that, 1 gram per pound.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And
And I don't know if that's, I'm forced to kind of take some processed stuff. I mean, I think that's okay. But like supplement wise,
mhm.
but I'm just trying to like, how do I make this easier on myself? Because sometimes it's kind of tough.
I think what you're gonna enjoy as well is that hold on, Jack's coming in here. Let me let him in, Mr. McDonald. Cool. I think what you're gonna enjoy as well now that you're doing jujitsu, you're gonna have so much extra activity. I mean, it's gonna be an extra 2 to 3,000 calories burned a week, like for real, a week.
Mm,
That's a lot. That's a whole day of eating, you know? And
yeah.
the advantageous thing about that is you can get a little more lenient with the food sources that you're eating in terms of I'll give you an example of stuff that I eat right now that like normally, like I wouldn't recommend to somebody that's trying to lose weight, but if you're trying to maintain weight, it's gonna be beneficial. Like I eat Greek yogurt, I eat it whole, right? I get protein from kefir, which is a pretty fatty source of protein. I mean, it's got protein in it, it's good. It's 40 grams, but one jug of kefir is like 600 to 800
What's
calories.
kefir?
Kefir is it's kind of like yogurt. It's just a more liquidy yogurt. It's just like Greek yogurt in the sense it has a lot of probiotics and stuff. So it's really good for gut health, right? Like I prioritize gut health now because I'm just at that point and my hunger levels are regulated. So something that I've noticed in the last 3 months is I've gone a lot harder on the micro optimization, right? Like I'm going balls to the wall here kind of to start the year, which is funny because Jack and Gabe and I like kind of make fun of micro optimizers, but I was like, I'm gonna do it just for me, just for fun, see how big of a difference it actually makes if I really do it for a long time. And it's definitely made a difference now that I'm sticking to it, but it's actually made it easier for me to hit my calorie needs and hit my protein needs because it's coming from whole food. And I've noticed that my hunger levels are regulated more. So my example of this me and Jack went to a football game with a buddy of ours the other night, and we got like stadium chicken tenders and fries. The next day, my hunger levels were all messed up whack. I wasn't hungry till like noon, and then I couldn't eat the normal serving that I usually eat. And my only presumption for that is the fact that I've been so strict about not having processed garbage that I went and had it, and it disrupted all my hunger cues, and it made my hunger levels and satiation levels out of whack. Also, something that I think some of you guys are aware that I'm doing like a no alcohol thing for an extended period of time. That's also brought back my hunger levels and made it easier for me to eat more protein. I'm hungrier than I have been when I've eliminated alcohol, which I'm not a huge fan of restricting ever other than for a challenge, but it's something that I've noticed and picked up on that's helped me that might help you, Alex, with making sure you're able to hit your protein sources a little bit easier. It's kind of regulating those hunger levels through going for cleaner foods and minimizing alcohol intake. I'm not sure how big of a drinker you are at all, but like minimizing that. And for me, and I'm at a point where I've completely eliminated it, it's been really easy for me to hit my protein goals since I've started doing that because I feel regular hunger levels. Does that make sense?
Okay, let me tell you. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
tell you why it's difficult. I think it's now that I'm thinking harder on it,
Yep.
I think it's just time because like
Yep.
I'll wake up and I don't eat early. It's not natural to eat early
Yep.
for me. So like I'll have a coffee, right? Like no sugar, iced coffee, iced latte, whatever. I
Yep.
guess that's so I'm technically not fasting because there's milk or whatever in the coffee. Um, but then I won't eat till like anywhere between like 11 and 1, and I'll have a nice big protein meal. Like I just ate a crepe with chicken and eggs and cheese, so that had at least 40-50 grams of protein. Um, but then I don't get hungry till like 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m.
Right.
So then I'll say I have another 60-70 grams of protein. That sounds like a lot, but that's still in the day. That's only 100, 120. I still got like another 40-50 more to go. So that's where I find it kind of hard. And it's like if I don't have the protein shakes or like those ones that you could buy at the grocery store, you just drink them. I've been
Yep.
doing that lately just to to catch up.
Yeah. And that's a big benefit of protein shakes. And kind of when we've talked about it before, is like the idea of it does give you speed. So a really busy season of life for me, Jack and Gabe, was Q3, like quarter 3. And that's kind of why the last 2 to 3 months I've been able to go a little more optimized on my health and my nutrition and all my stuff. I've had a little bit more time on my calendar. But like Q3 was crazy. It was ridiculous. Q2 too for us was crazy. So there was like a 3 to 6 month period there for me where it was just sun up and sun down. My face was in the computer, run to the kitchen, shake up a protein shake, drink, keep going back to work. But I was still able to hit my protein. The sacrifice I made was that I had to opt for a protein shake because of the speed. So it will allow you to get that speed if that's what time is. And that's kind of the trade-off that you would have to make, right? If it's mostly beneficial to you to not sacrifice the time, then the trade-off will be like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of protein from, a more processed source like a protein shake, whether it be ready to drink or whey protein that you scoop out of a bucket. That's kind of the trade-off that you make there. Right now, I have a little more time. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to spend a little more time cooking and preparing food and doing things like that. And honestly, now that I've made the time for it, like I kind of look forward to it, right? I'm like, oh, nice. I'm going to go cook a nice little meal here, right? Like after this call, I'm going to go make myself a nice little meal. So now I kind of look forward to it and I've worked it into the schedule. But the trade-off you might have to make right now is if time is the bottleneck, is that you might have to stick to doing the protein shakes like you've been doing just to hit the number. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. Awesome. And what has your guys' experience been? Drew, Jack, and Judah, like in terms of hitting protein goals? Because I know that's one that's difficult for a lot of people is hitting the protein number. I know Alex is not alone. So what's kind of been your guys' experience? And I know it's such a pivotal part of this program and a direction that we push you guys in. What's your experience been with hitting that number and making that happen for yourself personally?
Well, I know that I don't have a problem hitting it, Joey, but one of the things I have to do is rely on protein shakes too.
Yep.
Oftentimes, one thing I did switch to recently is I'm taking a lot of like really sharp, hard cheeses, like some of the Bellicanos or really sharp cheddars and some of those Stride Biltong sticks. Those basically just air-dried beef.
Yep.
And I'll carry those with me because I work 14 to 16-hour days, which doesn't give me a lot of time for cooking or for anything else. And
Yep.
I'll bring those with me to work and I'll just snack on them throughout the day. And by the end of the day, just a few snacks here and there, that's 120, 130 grams of protein without getting in the way of anything else.
Yeah, that's good.
Can we talk about cheese real quick?
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally. Drew, I want to make sure you get
because
here too as well, Drew. I know I saw your.
I'll let Drew go first.
Yeah.
I'll let Drew go first.
Yeah, no, I'd say similar to both Alex and Judah. It's definitely having to try to get to that number with that protein drink or protein bar has been the biggest thing. After my meals are done, I'm usually around that 140, 150 mark. So then that last 50, 60 grams of protein that I need is like, okay, I'm trying to force myself to do a drink or a bar at 5, 6 o'clock at night. And that's where about the psychology comes into it for me, is because I've gone through a whole weight loss thing in the past, which failed and gained it back. And at that time, it's like limit what I eat, limit what I eat, limit what I eat. And now this is like a totally new thing where I'm like forcing myself to have this like huge breakfast, so like 3 or 4 eggs and a couple turkey sausage patties and Greek yogurt and that type of thing, trying to get the calories as well as that protein. So that's it's been kind of a mind shift for me for the past, I'm only 2 weeks in basically. But it's been a little bit of a shift into how I look at it for sure.
And let me ask you too, before we go into cheese, because cheese is a good one. Like I actually eat cheese all the time, so I'm excited to talk about that. But let me ask you as well, Drew, because I want to make sure that this is something that for you, do you feel like it's been a positive mind shift? Because I know somebody else I talked to recently that's in here is David Jacob, and he was like he was trying to lose weight, and he was baffled by, he's like, dude, I'm eating so much.
Yeah.
And he was baffled. And so he's down like 12 pounds in 6 weeks. But he was like, dude, I'm eating so much. I can't believe I'm losing weight. So has it been a positive mindset shift for you?
Yeah, it's been weird, but yeah, it's positive for sure. Yeah, I was just actually thinking myself, I was doing a little journaling actually, which is new as well. But that's that it was kind of something that I thought about, where before I would kind of think of, okay, I'm going out Saturday night with some friends. Like I was like terrified to wake up Sunday morning knowing that I was going to have a couple pounds added after that. But it's, for some reason now it seems to be a better mind shift where it's, I could still go out. I could still, have a couple drinks and kind of focus on some sort of high protein meal, still be within my calories for that day and not have to be terrified that I'm going to be, up a pound the next morning. So that kind of clicked over the last couple of days for me, and that was helpful.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that for you, if it wasn't, we can kind of navigate it while we're here through. And I think something that we'll touch on just real quick is, when it comes to like going out and drinking and stuff nutritionally, we are always thinking about, again, like what's ideal. Ideally, all of our calories that we're getting are coming from like clean whole foods and we're hitting our protein number. Of course, in an ideal world, that's great. Obviously, everybody that's in here and everybody that's watching this recording, anybody that's been in the program for like longer than a week understands that like we're big on like not being a square, right? We're like, dude, go live your life. Like we understand, we don't want you to be a robot, because me, Jack, and Gabe aren't robots either, right? Like we're not like fitness robots by any means, like not doing all that. And we understand that you guys and most people don't want to be either. So when it comes to like going out and drinking and stuff, one of the best ways to counter that is with protein, right? Like before we go out, hitting that number. I'll give you an example. If I was going to like go out to dinner tonight at, let's say, an Italian joint where I know I might not have the most protein options, I'll make sure I hit all my protein before I go to dinner. If I'm going to go out and have drinks, I'll make sure, and this is something that I helped David with as well, David Jacob, we were just talking about, because he's a guy that likes to go out and grab a drink with his friends and stuff all the time. I was like, leave the calories for the alcohol. So leave yourself, 300 to 600 calories and hit the protein. Is that going to be really hard? It's going to be really hard. It's not going to be easy, especially because for him, he's eating like 1,700 calories. So he had to find a way to get all his protein in with like 1,200 calories. And that means just eating like straight meat and protein shakes for the morning of the day, and then Saturday going out, and now I have 500 calories to play with beer and drinks and everything. It's not optimal at all. Like right. It's not optimal, right? Like I don't want like a third of your calories coming from ethyl, right? But I also know that sometimes you're going to do that, and a big part of life is social experience that comes with eating and drinking and food and all of that. So that's why I told him, I was like, it's not ideal, of course not. Right. Don't make a habit of doing it every day, where every day you're getting, a third of your calories from ethyl or alcohol. Ethyl is what you call alcohol caloric. Yeah. So sorry if you guys didn't know what I meant by that, but don't make it a habit. But if you're going to do it every once in a while, that's okay. Right. So I'm glad that you've kind of been able to adopt that mindset. Obviously super beneficial for people that go through this, because long-term afterwards, I don't anticipate anybody being a fitness robot in their time here or after when they leave. So I'm glad that that's been a positive shift for you. Judah and Alex, let's talk about the cheese discussion, because I'm a cheese fan, man. I eat cheese every single day, so I'm happy to chat cheese.
All right. I've got a lovely relationship with cheese.
You and me both.
So, dude, like ever since I was a kid, man, like, and even as an adult, like I feel like cheese is what got me fat originally, right? So I would just like get a bunch of chips, just put cheese on top of it, some salsa, melt it. Like I would do that. It was a stress response if I was feeling sad or whatever. Like that would be my go-to comfort food. And when I got into the program, I just stopped buying chips, and I stopped buying like that shredded cheese. I would still buy like the sharp cheddars and stuff that I think it was Judah who mentioned it. That was it, and I love all types of cheese, wine and cheese, all that stuff. But like it's tough for me because like cheese is also it's got good protein, right? But it's high in calorie. So now I'm kind of scared to eat too much cheese. But now that I feel like, okay, I can eat a little more calories than before when I was losing weight. So yeah, I definitely want to see what your take is when it comes to cheese, because I'm kind of scared to go all in on cheese again. I measure very much. Like right now I got, I think like those espresso cheddar, like little cubes, and I'll put like 5 little cubes, 1 ounce. Okay. And then I'll just take, this is it, put it back.
Yeah, totally. So like I said, I'm a big proponent of cheese, and now I'm going to explain this, and it might be like, Stick with me. Like, give me like 2 minutes here, right? Because it's gonna be. I'm gonna walk you kind of through the
All right,
chain
let's go.
in relation to cheese. So it might be a little confusing, but I'm gonna try to explain it as clearly as possible so you guys understand. So like, I'm gonna start with like the typical guy that comes in here, right? The typical guy that comes in here is trying to lose weight, right? Usually like anywhere from 20 to 80 pounds, anywhere in that range. That typical guy, when he's in that starting range of like he's trying to just lose that weight first, that's where you want to sacrifice the calories of cheese by going for options that are like low fat or even fat-free cheese when you could find it. Fat-free is harder to find, but they do make it. They make it with skim milk. You can find it, it's just more difficult. You might need to go to like a Trader Joe's or something. Like I can't find it at Publix. So like you might
Yeah, actually, yeah, sorry to interrupt.
no,
Yeah,
no,
you're right. It's like 50-50. I found some yesterday at HEB, but then maybe like 2 days before, I was like, I couldn't find it. But that's a huge difference because the mozzarella, it's like half the calories. It's like 40 for a fourth of a cup instead of 80.
yeah. And if you guys see in the Easy Lean recipe book, like a lot of the recipes in there have cheese in them, the fat-free cheese, because it's protein dense. At that point, it's skim milk, right? It's skim milk. And if you look at a skim milk servings, it's about 80 calories and like 8 to 10 grams of protein. That's an insane, right? If you get that 1 to 10 ratio, like you're crushing. Anything beyond that is awesome. Where like, okay, a bone broth is going to have even better than that. Whey protein has even better than that. But if you hit that 1 to 10 mark, like that's killer. So they're making this fat-free cheese with skim milk. So when you can find it, it's advantageous, especially if you're a cheese guy, because you can literally use it to hit your protein goal. And it tastes good. It goes down easy. It's not very satiating at all. Now, the part where it kind of trips people up is that it's not satiating. So if you have a whole cheese or even a low fat cheese is still pretty calorically dense. When you sprinkle it on there, you're like, man, I got all this protein and all these calories. That's why if you're this guy that's just coming into the program, if you can find the low fat, like no question with cheese, like low fat is like bare minimum. Then when you can find fat free at like a nicer grocery store, maybe you might have to go to even like, I don't even know if they'd have it at a farmer's market. You're going to have to look for the fat free cheese though. You're going to have to look a little harder. It's a little more difficult to find. That is good. Now, I will tell you the processes that they put cheeses and dairies through to make them low fat, to make them fat free, is not necessarily the best processes in the world. It is not necessarily good for the human body. What is actually would be best for the human body would be literally like whole milk, and even the people that go to the raw milk and raw cheese extremes, whole and raw, are generally the best you can do. But if you're trying to lose weight, you need to lose weight first, because the excess weight that you have on your body, the excess fat that you have on your body is the most detrimental thing to your health, not the processing that they put the cheeses through. So when you're, let me see, Jack, real quick. Went through. Yeah, Jack, I'll go off my cheese rant here, and then I'll answer that one for you, Jack. So if you're that guy, right, and you're just trying to get down to the healthy weight, trying to get to healthy body fat percentage, you can make these low fat and fat free options, even though it's a more processed food choice. It's okay because it's going to get you to the healthy body weight, healthy body fat, and that's the best thing that you can do for your health. Once you're there, that is when you start to look at like, let's get the whole source. Let's get maybe the raw unpasteurized source. Because there's no processing involved, it's more calorically dense, but you've gotten to a healthy body weight. Now you're just trying to maintain your weight. And also your hunger cues are in line. Chances are you're more active now, so you can afford more calories. And you're eating more clean foods just in general because you've cleaned up your diet. So you're going to actually be more satiated because you're just eating clean foods, not processed stuff. So you're actually in line. So again, that's why I'm doing like whole Greek yogurt or like whole milk, because I've gotten to that point where now that I'm at the healthy body weight, healthy body composition, I'm going to go for the least processed option, even if that option has more calories, because now I can afford more calories. But when you're fighting that battle to get down to healthy body weight, healthy body composition, you can't afford more calories, even if that means taking in some processed stuff that might not be the best for you actually health wise, because it's still not going to be as bad as excess fat is for you. Does that chain of events?
So yeah. My thing is, and maybe I'm too stuck psychologically on the body fat percentage aspect of things, because like my weight boom, ideal. But like I'm still at like 20 to 21% body fat. So that makes me think, I'm like, are eating these like heavy caloric cheeses with a lot of fats in them gonna be more detrimental for me, or should I stick to the lower calorie ones, or the more processed ones that are lower calorie?
Generally, if I was to put this in a generalization, I would say you would want to probably still stick to the lower calorie options. But because you're adding jujitsu to your regimen, you're probably fine to go for
Okay.
the higher calorie stuff that's less processed. Like, you're probably cool to do that.
I've even mixed them
Yeah, because like
when I want to.
even if you do that, that's fine, right? Like even if you're gonna do like, let's say you're gonna do a half cup of cheese and you do a quarter cup fat free and a quarter cup whole, it's going to be less processed stuff, and it's only going to be half the extra calories that you would normally add if you did a whole cup of cheese. So you do get the best of both worlds. So honestly, that's not a bad idea either. But I would say, as a generalization, for somebody in your shoes, stick to the lower calorie stuff until we get the body fat down too. But because you're adding this massive physical endeavor to your regular schedule, you're going to be able to afford the calories that are going to come from it, right? It's not going to be the end of the world for you. Does that answer your question for you on cheeses? And did that chain of events make sense for you guys? Maddie, I know you just joined, man. So
Yeah, absolutely.
don't feel like you're behind, bro. We'll get you
Just talking about cheese,
No,
Maddie.
it's all good. This is my first actual roundtable thing with y'all. So
There we go, bro. There we go. Welcome, man. It's good to see you, brother. It's good to see you.
Having to rearrange my schedule to fit stuff in, you know.
Yeah, you're good, man. You're good. I'm glad you could make it, brother. I'm glad you can make it. We can get you filled in on the recording too for the first part if you need to go back and review it as well. Awesome. I'm glad we covered that. So let me check out your question here, Jack. I'm not sure if you guys went through this. When you eat a lot the day before and your hunger cues are messed up, as you mentioned, how do you manage the next day? Yeah, that's a good question. So like my best personal experience with this question, Jack, for those of you guys that are wondering what I'm talking about, you can just check the chat for Jack's question. My experience with messing up hunger cues is usually going to come from alcohol, genuinely. So like if I do like a night of heavy drinking, the next day is when my hunger cues are going to be messed up. Now, for me, it's all relative, right? For me, heavy drinking is like anything more than 3 drinks. I don't drink much at all. Right now I'm doing like no alcohol. But even when I was drinking, like a heavy night of drinking for me was like more than 3 drinks. I probably had more than 3 drinks on the same night, like 3 or 4 times in all of 2022. That's a night of heavy drinking for me. That next day, my hunger cues are toast. So that's where, again, there's nuance to it. It depends where you're at in your situation. If you're somebody that's trying to put on muscle mass, which everybody's trying to put on muscle mass at the end of the day, even if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to put on muscle mass, is like, you still want to try to find a way to hit that protein the next day. You still want to try to hit a normal amount of protein. If you're somebody that's already at a place where like you're at a very healthy body composition, very healthy body weight, like again, I'll use myself as the example because it's just easier. I usually the day after drinking, like I'll fast because I just need to reset everything. Like I just literally, I just fast. I'm not really hungry anyways. I'll have some salts and some water and some, maybe like some fruit juice. But like generally, I'm not going to eat much the day after I go out and drink if my hunger cues are out of whack, or if I ever feel that my hunger cues are really out of whack for whatever reason, whatever happened, if I ate a lot of processed stuff, I'll do a fast literally just as a metabolic like reset and a hormonal reset for my body. And usually by that second day after I fast, I'm good. Again, that's for once you're already at this point where like you're in good health, you're in a good place. But if you're working on something, right, if you're trying to build muscle, you want to put yourself in the most advantageous position to do that. So if you have a day where your hunger cues are messed up and you're trying to put on muscle, you're trying to lose this weight, like again, no matter what, you're still going to want to put yourself in a most advantageous position to do so. And the way you're going to do that is still hitting that protein goal, even if you're on a day where your hunger cues are a mess. What you would want to do is you would want to leverage the least satiating forms of protein. Because if your hunger cues are messed up, man, and like you're eating maybe like 4 ounces of beef and you're full, like I've been there, like I know exactly what you're talking about, where like I don't eat a lot and I'm like, oh man, I feel full. I'm going to go for something less satiating. I'm going to go for the whey protein. I'm going to go for the bone broth. I'm going to go for the liquid forms of protein, ideally first, right? And then even typically the fattier cuts of protein are a little less satiating too, which sounds counterintuitive, but that's just a personal anecdote. The fattier cuts of meat I usually can eat more of, they go down easier, right? That's just, it is what it is. Is that going to mean extra calories? Yes. Yeah, Alex. Yeah. I don't know why that is. It doesn't make sense. Scientifically, it does not make sense, but anecdotally, that's what I've experienced. And that's what other people I know have experienced as well, is the fattier cuts of meat go down easier. So that's
That
what
juiciness.
yeah, I think it's something about the salivation of it, right? It's a fat, it's just there's more fat to it. It's just more satiating, or at least less satiating. So again, because if you look at it scientifically, science will tell you like, well, it has fats, which is calorically dense. It's going to fill you up. It's going to do all that. Anecdotally, it doesn't make sense at all. So that's a bro science answer. But guess what? Bro science and anecdotes are also evidence. So it is what it is, right? So that's how I would navigate a situation like that, Jack, is if my hunger cues are out of whack and I'm still trying to hit my protein goal, which you absolutely should be when you're trying to do a body transformation like this. You should still try to hit it by any means. You're just going to want to choose the least satiating options of protein. Does that answer your question for you, Jack?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So like when you said you're fasting, do you just do like the OMAD, or like do you literally just like don't eat anything for the day?
Good question. So it'll depend, right? Like I haven't done a long fast of like truly not eating anything for probably like 2 months, where I go like 24 to 48 hours of like a long extended fast. Usually I will sometimes do like an OMAD like that. If I'm really just out of whack, like I'll do 1 meal a day, and I'll still kind of get, because I've done 1 meal a day, I'll get 18 to 24 hours on both sides of that meal where I don't eat. Right? Like, because it's been a while since I've eaten. I eat at like 2, and then I'm not going to eat again until like 6 to 8 a.m. the next morning. So I end up getting like 18 to 24 hour fasts on both sides of that one meal. Does that make sense how that actually works out mathematically for you guys? Cool.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
And it's situational, truthfully. I don't have like a system for it, like if this, then that, in terms of whether or not I'm going to do OMAD or whether I'm going to do a planned fast. I would say majority of the time it ends up being an OMAD style fast, where it's like 2 smaller fasts broken by 1 big meal. If I'm going to do a longer extended fast because I'm really trying to do some sort of reset of sorts, I'll usually plan that out a few days in advance. Because typically if you're going to fast, like you want to actually set yourself up to be successful to do so, right? You want to be, I try to set myself up to not be miserable. Some people are savages and they're like, I want to be in pain when I fast. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not fasting to be in pain and to mentally challenge myself. I'm fasting to just improve my health overall. Some people look at fasting as a challenge. Personally, that's not what I do. I just look at it as like, I'm doing this literally to improve my gut health and reset my metabolic state, right? So I'll plan for it. Like I'll get my electrolytes in line. I'll make sure I have like lemons for lemon water. I'll make sure I have adequate salt. I'll make sure I have the magnesium, the potassium supplements, the tablets, so I don't feel like crap while I fast. I'll make sure I get the sparkling water so I have a little bit more satiation. I'll make sure I get lots of gum so I can just chew on gum for that 24 to 48 hours. I'll get myself set up and plan to have all the tricks in place to make myself not as satiated. You know, I'll make sure I have the calorie-free caffeine lined up, just drinking black coffee, right? I'm going to do all the tricks in the book to make the fast, when I do one like that for an extended period of time, as little pain as possible, because that's not my goal for doing it. It's not to mentally challenge myself. If I want to mentally challenge myself, I'll go do something else. It's not a fast. I'm not going to do it that way. Does that make sense how I kind of navigate that mentally, Jack?
Yeah. So like, is the magnesium, is that like what's that for? Like I know the other stuff, like that makes sense, but what do you use the magnesium for?
So
In
magnesium,
terms of the fasting.
yeah, it's a great question. So magnesium is just one of the most important micronutrients that we have. So it's a cofactor for like 300 metabolic sequences in the body, over 300 metabolic sequences in the body, and chemical reactions that just happen in the body. So the short list for fasting that I'm like, I want to make sure I still have these micronutrients, even if that means buying tablets or buying supplements of sorts, is I do sodium. So that's just salt, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and then calcium. So those are the 4 that I try to get on deck. Usually the one that I'm laziest with is calcium. But the first 3, the sodium, the potassium, the magnesium, I'm on top of, because I just know how important they are in different cofactors in the body. We could look up a long list on magnesium and all of its stuff. But the biggest things where you're going to feel it affect you is going to be stress and anxiety levels, and then sleep. So typically people that are depleted in magnesium are going to have lower quality sleep. They're going to have higher levels of stress. They're going to have higher levels of anxiety. The caveat and I don't want to say caveat. I guess I should lay the background on magnesium for you. Is it used to just be present in all of our foods, but with the new stuff that they're doing to produce food, the chemicals they're using, the growth hormones that they're using, there's a tendency for it to actually deplete magnesium from the soil. So it's less present in the foods that we eat today than it was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Most people, it's like it's in the middle 70% are magnesium deficient in some sort. Now, literature will tell you all you need is like 50 to 100 milligrams of magnesium a day. From what I've seen with updated stuff and people doing newer and newer studies, and just people that I've worked with and assigned them certain supplement levels, and my friends that are coaches that assign people supplement levels, I've heard anywhere from 5 to 10 milligrams of magnesium per pound of body weight is safe. Sounds crazy, but that's what I've heard. Personally, the best way to experiment with it is to experiment with it and figure out what works for you. And how you find the threshold with magnesium, it's going to sound gross, but it's how your actual bowel movement is the next day. If it's a very loose stool, like painfully loose stool, you're having too much magnesium. That's the way to know you've had too much. So you kind of have to find the ground on magnesium where it's like, yes, I have enough where my sleep feels better, my stress is good, my anxiety is good, but I'm not having, literally painful diarrhea the next day. That's how you walk the line of finding out how much magnesium is good for you.
Doesn't magnesium play a big part in vitamin D as well, and how your body takes in vitamin D?
Yeah, that's great, dude. We were talking about that last week. Alex, what's up, bro? We're talking about magnesium.
Hey.
I know you have some.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you're fine right now.
That's that shit. I got some magnesium chloride in the mail, should be here any day, and I'm gonna mix it with purified water, distilled water, and make a spray that I can spray on my back and my lower back and my neck. It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, dude. It's killer. There's so many different ways to apply it too. You can do it, like, what is it called when you do it through the skin, Alex?
Topical.
Topical. It was a T. I almost said textual. Topical. I couldn't think of it.
It's like an Epsom salt, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you can do it like that. And then Drew just asked about how like it plays a role in vitamin D. So I was giving the background on like magnesium and how it used to be in the soil. It's not in the soil. It's a cofactor for like 300 different things. And how you walk the line of how much magnesium should I have is literally monitoring your bowel movements. You're having loose stool, you're probably having too much magnesium. That's how I always walk the line. So I take around like 500 milligrams. I've found that's about the line for me. Once I cross to 600, 700, I start to not enjoy myself the next day. Right. So that's how I kind of walk the line and figure out how much I need. But Drew was just talking about how it plays a role with vitamin D. So this is newer as well. We were talking to Steven about this. I believe it was last week on this nutrition call, because Steven was a dermatologist, Steven Hayes. So he's worked with a lot of people with skin cancer and things of the sort. So we were just talking about sunlight and vitamin D and how it plays a role. And again, this is newer stuff that's coming out, but it's the idea that vitamin D doesn't work without magnesium and magnesium doesn't work without vitamin D. So if you're supplementing vitamin D, which like personally, I either make sure I get like 30 minutes to an hour in the sun every day. And if I don't, for whatever reason, I take 10,000 IUs. Most of the general recommendation is 5,000, but like, I'm a little bit of an extremist here, so I like to go double the daily recommendation, which is probably totally safe. I've seen people take in studies up to 50,000 for months at a time with no real negative side effects. So I think 10,000 is probably totally safe for me. Anyways, they work together. So if I was just going to take that vitamin D and not have any magnesium and I was magnesium deficient, I wouldn't get nearly the same effects, if any at all, from that vitamin D as if I paired it with a magnesium supplement. And the vice versa is true. If I was just taking 500 milligrams of magnesium and I wasn't getting sunlight, or I wasn't supplementing vitamin D on the days where I don't get sunlight, I would basically be not wasting that magnesium, but it's only about getting me 10 to 20% of what it would if I had it paired with a vitamin D supplement. So they do work together. Alex, I think you've probably seen similar stuff on that. You might be able to go even down a deeper wormhole with magnesium. I know you dabble with it quite a bit.
So since I've, for anybody who is on Twitter and knows the elusive Grimhood, I have been in contact with him for a few months. And since talking to him, I have significantly upped a lot of my dosage for a lot of supplements, just in concert with what he has taught me. He's a very knowledgeable person. So I used to be around Joey's range as well. I'm topping out right now at 3,000 plus milligrams of magnesium a day. However, as Joey has said, you got to be easy with that, because there's a time that I made a jump way too fast and I was going to the bathroom way too often and it was not good. he is 100% correct about the connection with vitamin D. It's huge to supplement that. A big thing during COVID was people were talking about the amount of people who were vitamin D deficient, but no one's talking about how many people are magnesium deficient. 100% right about coming from your soil. Soil's depleted now, overcropping, mono agriculture, and all the things of that nature. Absolutely horrible. So start small, move up, see how you feel. Huge thing if you suffer with seasonal depression. I know I live in the Northeast. Joey can contest to this, being a Cleveland boy. Not a lot of sun right now. You know, the UV index is 1 right now. It's going to be 1 for another 2 months. That means I cannot absorb any vitamin D from the sun at my home. So it's horrible. So when you're not supplementing these two together, you know, the absorption of that vitamin D is just not going to happen. So it's all a test, man. I like to play it like a game, man. You play with these supplements, you see what makes you feel good, you see what doesn't make you feel good, and it's a game, man. And as you go in your fitness journey, you'll start adding things. I was talking about this morning with somebody. You know, you start small, and then like 3 years later, you're doing some crazy stuff. You're sitting butt naked in front of a red light. You're like, how did I get here? How did I get here?
So true. I'm
like,
walking
it's just
around like barefoot. Now I only wear barefoot shoes. I drink kefir out of a jug. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude. It's weird, man. But it's fun because you just want to make yourself feel better. And that's all this game is, man.
Yeah, you'll fall in love with the idea of improvement, right? And once you kind of hit the big force multipliers, and that's another caveat that I'll make to the supplement conversation that we've kind of turned into towards on the back half here, is like, we talked in depth about supplements last week. So if you guys want to watch that recording, definitely recommend check it out for the nutrition call last week. But the big synopsis of it is this idea is that supplements are made for supplementing an already strong foundation. Supplement, literally in the name, right? So you want to hit the force multipliers first. Supplements are a micro optimization. They're going to get you maybe that last 10 to 20%. But that initial 80 to 90% is going to come from nailing the force multipliers, the basics of like a high protein diet, clean foods, regular movement, weightlifting, good sleep, regular sunlight, adequate hydration. Like those like 7 things. That's like going to get you 80 to 90% of the way to all the health goals that you get. That last 10 to 20% is where you micro optimize and you have some fun and you mess around and you buy 10 pairs of barefoot shoes and you figure out which one you like best. That's the point I'm at, where now I spend money on barefoot shoes because I want to see which one I like, right? So eventually you get to a point where you really are just like, what's the next thing that I can try that's really going to make the biggest difference? And really you're fighting over like which thing is going to get me 3% better instead of just 1% better. That's what it comes down to, right? I'm like, okay, barefoot shoes, those are like a 2 to 3% improvement. Like those are going to be worth keeping. This random supplement here, like for me, one was ashwagandha, where I did ashwagandha for a while and I was like, I don't really notice a difference. So I just stopped taking it. It might have been helping me, but it was so minuscule that I didn't notice it. So I was like, right. So you get to that point where you start just experimenting. Now, one that I'm doing is like the sauna, making the sauna regular, right? Like, yeah, Alex is giving a thumbs up. Everybody loves it.
I just started that too. How long do you usually stay in?
I go 20. I've been trying to do 20 minutes 3 times a week. That's kind of the regiment that I've been following. I've heard up to like 5 times a week is like a play, is a good move. So that's kind of been what
sauna or steam room, or either of them. Is there a difference really?
I think there's a difference. I don't know if I can like comprehend the difference to an extent because I'm so new to it. But the one I'm in is just a dry sauna. I think a steam room it'd be like a wet sauna where you're pouring the water on rocks and you're getting the steam. That's my understanding of it. The one I do is just a dry sauna. I just get in there and it's really hot and I just suffer for 25 minutes and then I call it a day. So that's what I've been doing. But that's one, again, where I'm testing. Would it make a significant difference in my life if I hadn't already laid a good foundation though? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. Because it's a micro optimization, right? It's not a force multiplier. Does that concept make sense in terms of like force multipliers, micro optimizations, and the order of events in terms of adding something like a supplement to your regimen? Is that kind of making sense for everybody? Cool.
One thing I would like to add about supplements, and this is something that I failed with that Grimhood pointed out, that I was somebody who would order like 3 or 4 new supplements. I'd take them all at the same time. The reason that this was bad is because I couldn't see the positive or negative effects, kind of like Joey's ashwagandha thing. You don't know what's good and what's bad. So you could take 4 new supplements, have an adverse effect, and not know which one is which. So if you are trying out new supplements, do them one at a time, give a 3 to 5 day grace period, see how you feel, and then move on from there. And don't be like me and just see everything on Nootropics Depot and buy it and then pop it when you get home. So yeah, just a little.
I got a funny story real quick
Yeah.
to share with y'all. So I've been going to work out with one of my best friends. Like, he's been in shape for a while, and the dude literally brings in, like, he has like a whole jar. I swear to you, there's like 20 pills. And like, after we're done with our workout, the dude takes all of it. I was like, oh, is that for the whole week?
Oh,
And then he's like, I figured I don't get enough nutrients from my food, so I'm gonna make sure and get everything out of
oh man, that's the classic. See, it's the classic Band-Aid example,
these.
right?
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Quick question though on magnesium. What do you guys recommend? Because that's one that I've been trying to add. I had a friend, Alex, you were saying about a topical magnesium. He buys magnesium flakes and then mixes them with water.
Yeah.
I was thinking of doing something like that along with something orally. If you guys have a recommendation for that, I'd really appreciate it.
Magnesium chloride flakes are the best to do the topical with. And you can also add that to your water as well, just a pinch like throughout the day. Something that I've been keen on learning lately is water quality. So I have a zero water filter in my fridge. Didn't realize that I was chugging this water and pissing all the time. Didn't realize there was a problem. You know what the problem was? There's no nutrients in that water. Zero water filter is stripping everything. So I've been since adding a pinch of sea salt and magnesium chloride as well. So I'm making topical magnesium with that magnesium chloride. It's going to be a 1-to-1 mixture, 1 cup of magnesium chloride to 1 part distilled water. Other than that, the best thing that I always recommend people is magnesium glycinate to start out with.
Yeah.
Joey says he takes around 500. You can buy it from Nootropics Depot. I bought the 800 milligram capsules. I take 1 in the morning, 1 at night as my kind of sleep procedure, and I take that. So that's a good start. But there's a ton of different kinds that have a little bit of different reaction. The magnesium citrate, I will say, did not sit well with me, so I stopped taking it. Again, this is where testing comes into play for you.
Yeah, I've heard.
Okay.
I've heard the citrate is actually the one that I've kind of heard the most adverse reactions to, and then actually least positive differences that they've noticed. Like actually, so
Can you guys tell me what brand y'all take? Because I rather take your word for it, because I know there's all these like synthetic brands, and I rather just go with like somebody's good anecdote. Because I'm looking on Amazon, and there's like a trillion of them.
mine's blue. Mine's blue.
The one thing I was going to add is that if you
Yeah.
drink a lot of coffee, you'll tend to strip yourself of magnesium really fast also. So
Oh,
that's something I learned in a.
Oh, you're on me, man.
then I'm really gonna have to
Man.
take double dose.
So every time I drink coffee, I take also a glass of this Relight stuff. It's
This is the one that
it's
I
magnesium, it's got some minerals. So it's like
What's that? CanPrev?
yeah, bisglycinate.
Is that on? Do you have that on Amazon? Let's see.
Yeah,
Nootropics Depot is also another great source as well. I get a majority of my supplements off of there.
Nootropics Depot. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys. I'm typing this in
yeah, absolutely,
and keep it on here.
Can
absolutely.
I ask a quick question about some things you said earlier, Joey?
Yeah, totally.
You mentioned like low satiation foods that were still high protein.
Mhm.
You mentioned like whey and bone broth. Is there other stuff in that category that you could recommend?
Other stuff that comes to mind, whenever I'm thinking about lowering the satiation of stuff, I always think about like how can I liquidate it. So those are always gonna be the most beneficial, right? Like that's gonna be the most beneficial. It's gonna be the whey protein. It's gonna be the bone broth, things like that. It's just easy to go down. Now, the way that you can think about this as well, Matt, is like if somebody was trying to gain weight and I was like, hey, we got to get more calories in, but I don't want you to feel stuffed, I would do the same thing, just not with protein. I would say like, we're going to get carbohydrates from like a Gatorade, and yeah, it's sugar, but they need to get the calories in. So I always think about liquidating when I'm trying to reduce satiation. In terms of other stuff that's not as satiating, again, I don't know if you were here when I said it to Jack, like I have found that the fattier cuts of meat have always been less satiating for me. Whenever I'm eating like a super lean cut, even if it's ground meat, which ideally, if you're trying to lose, if you're in a weight loss situation, you want the leaner cut of meat for the calorie purposes. But I've personally always found when I'm eating like 95+% lean meat, I struggle to eat more of it. It fills me up faster, the leaner cuts. I don't know why that is. I don't have science on it, but I've found if I'm eating like 85-15, I can crush it. It's a little fattier, right? If I'm eating like a ribeye, I can crush it. It's fattier. That's personally anecdotally. So I would say again, like the liquid stuff is by far it's like far and away the best. It's going to be the liquid sources of protein, even if that includes like skim milk as well. If you're trying to reduce on calories, or whole milk if you're trying to gain calories, depends calorically, depends on what you need. But like the milks is a good option too. Greek yogurt is a great option that I've found that's not terribly satiating for me as well, because think about it, it's a little more liquid than a meat, right? Those kind of
Almonds.
yeah,
Almonds.
and it depends on goals too, right? With like nuts, those are going to be good. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to be a little more careful with nuts, probably just because it's so fat dense. But if you're trying to gain weight, nuts are great, right? Nuts are great. You can get a ton of protein, you can get a ton of calories, and it's not very satiating. Does that answer your question for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm kind of in this weird spot where like I'm happy with my actual weight, but my composition's just kind of bad.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, just look at me like fucking nerd
That's
skin.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's like we were actually talking about that with Alex before you got in here, as well, where like you hit this ground where once you've hit a place where you're satiated with your weight, I said satiated, satisfied with your weight, and you're more of a maintain weight recomposition the body, that's where your biggest lever is actually going to be like your protein.
Was what, I'm sorry?
Is going to be your protein intake.
Yeah.
As we up that, right?
So part of the reason I was asking is that I'm like, I just naturally, like, I'm an anxious wreck in certain ways. So I just don't naturally eat very much, which is, you know, a skill I can leverage in certain ways. But the byproduct was that it was hard to get above those protein goals.
Yeah.
And so I was like, low satiation protein, you say.
Yes, exactly.
It's like,
exactly, right. And we were talking about this with Alex too before you got in here, so I want to make sure you hear it. But you're going to have to make trade-offs to a certain extent. You know, if you're somebody that has time to prep food and do all that, that's ideal. You know, ideally you get your stuff from a whole food source, ideally, in an ideal world. Right now, I'm at a point in my life where I have the time to cook and do the things that I want to do. But I'll tell you, in Q2 and Q3, like I was telling these guys earlier, I was not in a point in my life where I had the time to do that. So it was work, sprint to the kitchen, shake up a protein shake, drink it, back to my computer, go. Right now, things have slowed down a bit. We have a team, we have help, we have guys like Alex and Chris coming in here and providing us some support to make sure that you guys are getting results and everything goes well. But I was in a busy season of life where I needed to just do the liquid sources of protein, the ready to drink protein shakes, or make my own protein shakes because of the speed. So I was trading the quality of nutrition that you get from a whole food source of protein for the speed of a protein shake. So that's also a factor that comes into play for you, depending on your situation.
yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of in that busy quadrant for this month at least. But
Yeah.
do you have a whey protein recommendation? Just
I use Muscle Feast. So Muscle Feast is a grass-fed, it's 100% grass-fed whey. You can get it on Amazon. It's a little more expensive, but it's a little more expensive because it's a grass-fed whey option. What I will say is a lot of times the thing that prevents people from getting their protein the most with a whey protein or a protein supplement is usually going to be the taste. So I kind of point people in the direction, while it might not be the most ideal for your gut health and stuff because it's a little more processed, is get the good tasting protein powder first and then get the more optimal health protein powder like the grass-fed whey source later. I think the one I get tastes good though, personally. I think it tastes great. I know for a fact though that there's super good tasting ones out there that are better tasting than the one I have.
I got a tip for you guys. This is what I started doing because I noticed I needed to like literally get double the shakes, but I didn't want to do it like at different times. So I got I don't know if you can find this, but it's literally like it's gross, it's flavorless, but it's only got 100 calories and 25 grams of protein. So I'll mix that in with the regular. I'll do 1 scoop of that and 1 scoop of the other type of protein, like the flavored one. Yeah. And so I get dose and still like super low cal.
Yeah. And the nice thing about the flavorless one is you can really leverage it with different types of stuff. If you get chocolate, like you're pinning yourself to chocolate. And that was kind of where I've always been a guy that's avoided like the fruity pebble flavored one or like cookies and cream because I pinned myself to 5 pounds of freaking whey protein of that flavor, right? Where if you just get an unflavored one, you can mix it with like a Greek yogurt that's flavored. And maybe you went to the store and you got the Oikos Greek yogurt and you got strawberry, blueberry, and vanilla. And then you just add a flavorless protein powder to it. Boom. Now, like you have this different variation. So that is where a flavorless protein could be good. However, if you're just drinking it straight with a shake, I recommend that you get one that's going to taste really good. And like, I hate recommending the brand Ghost. And I know Alex might shake his head at me. I hate recommending the brand Ghost because like, it's just not, it's so processed and stuff, but it tastes good. And if you're new to protein powders, I want you to ease your way into maybe the not best tasting protein powder, because I don't want that to be the bottleneck for you that prevents you from getting your protein just because it doesn't taste good. I want you to just get it in by any means, even if that means sacrificing a little processing to do so. So Ghost is a brand that has all kinds of flavor and all kinds of fun protein flavors and stuff, and it's relatively affordable. Like actually it's pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap protein powder from what I know. Alex, is there any other brands that come to mind that are like just taste optimized protein powders?
I didn't even know Ghost made protein powders. I just discovered their energy drinks a few weeks ago, which I do think are delicious. Oh my gosh, the
All their stuff tastes good. All their stuff.
Yeah, I've never tried their protein. The only protein that I've mainly been on has been one. It's been Optimal Nutrition for years. I've enjoyed that. They make a ton of different flavors. I've actually veered away from it lately. I don't know if you guys seen the price of protein lately. It's through the fucking roof. 2.1 pound jug of Optimal Nutrition whey cost $65. No, thank you. So what I've been gravitating towards is just the Fairlife Pro, 42 grams of protein already made. You know, I go to a local grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're already made. So I buy literally 6 of them for less than $20 because it's buy one, essentially get the other one half off at this store in town. And they're already made. I throw them in my fridge. I have 1 or 2 of those a day if I'm in a pinch, and they taste delicious. They taste like milk. So yeah, I love the Fairlife Pro, and even the downgrade ones, because the Pro has 42 grams of protein. The other ones have 26. Nonetheless, they taste delicious. They're good. They're easy in a pinch. But yeah, Optimal Nutrition or Fairlife for me.
Yeah, Fairlife's ready to drink protein shakes are the best tasting ones. It's not even close. They're a little more on the expensive end, but any ready to drink protein shake is going to be relatively expensive. Ready to drink.
If you have a Costco or Sam's Club membership, this is where that will come in handy.
Yeah, for sure. With ready to drink stuff that you can buy in bulk.
I just bought some of those Fairlife.
I
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I bought some of those Fairlife Elites on Amazon yesterday, and they were like $2 cheaper than they are in store locally here at least. So yeah, definitely.
It's on my list. On my list. I need to get some.
Yeah.
Stack up. What's up, Alex?
Hey, have you guys ever seen this? I saw this like recovery water. It's like 120 grams of protein. How is that possible?
What is it?
Recovery water.
What's the macros on it? What's the nutrition?
100 calories and 20 grams of protein, but it's like a juice, like a Gatorade type thing.
It's 100 calories and 20 grams of protein. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So I was worried for a second. I thought you said 0 calories. I was like, what? No.
I thought he said 120 grams of protein. I was like, damn, where do I get that?
Yeah, right. So calories with protein, and this is a little macro science here, is like protein is 4 calories per gram.
Yeah.
So 20 grams of protein, that's going to be 80 of those calories are from protein. So there's 20 calories coming from carbs or fats, some other form of macronutrients, probably carbs in a drink like that. Definitely possible though. It's just going to be how they synthesized it, right? So if that's like a juice style thing, how they synthesize the protein is not from a whey source. That's why like a whey protein shake turns the water milky, because
it's negative whey protein isolate, which I don't. Isn't that usually going to make it thicker? But if you drink, it's it looks like just.
Yeah, I've had those. They're kind of good actually.
Yeah, it's good. It's called recovery water. It's good after like the jiu-jitsu stuff.
Totally. Yeah. So like macros wise and calories wise, that makes sense, right? The one that you said earlier, that's 25 grams of protein and 100 calories. Personally, depending on the source of where they're getting that protein powder from, actually being dead on for 25 times 4 and the calories being 100 is a little sketch to me. But here's the thing, nutrition labels are allowed to be up to 20% inaccurate. So that sounds a little sketch to me, but no matter what, it's still good. Like it's still good, right? Even if they're 20% off and it's 120 calories, like still really good. 120 calories and 25 grams of protein. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. So little sus on that one, but I don't know what they have in there, but they're labeling, and it's not sus on the actual quality of the product, because that's a really great ratio. Like I said, no matter what, their labeling could be sketch though, because they're allowed to be 20%.
I'll say about 1 scoop.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. There you go. There's the fine print. I knew it was there somewhere, right? But yeah. Do you guys have any other questions or anything else before we wrap up here? I know we went a little, this is actually a little longer. Usually these are around 45, but this was good. This is all very good conversation. I'm glad we got into it. Do you guys have any other questions or anything before we wrap up at all?
I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you making the time. I know it was your first one. That was awesome. Alex, I appreciate you hopping in, man. Both Alexes, Alex G, I haven't seen you in a while, and Alex Cherry, man. I appreciate you jumping on. And Drew, I appreciate you being here and participating. And Judah, everybody that's here was like here for the whole freaking call. So that was awesome. That was fun.
Thanks all.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your night. And as always, if anything else comes up post call that you didn't think about, feel free to drop in the chat and continue the conversation.
See you, gentlemen. Have a great day.
You guys.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks. And if you take a look at my message that I responded.
Totally. Yeah, I have it pinned, so I'll make sure I get back to you on there because I know we went over it. I know I sent you a long list of messages and everything. So I'll make sure I get back to you, bro.
Well, it confirmed everything. I'm like just even more fired up. So I was like, get back. I can get my plan updated and just like go ham at it.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, man. I'm excited for you, bro. Well, like I said, I'll get back to you actually right after this. It's totally cool. I'll listen to it. Get back to you. Have a good one, brother.
All right, you too. Take care.